Hey, good day to you. This is Todd. I'm just a regular dude walking through the Word. And we're going through the book of Ruth right now. We're starting chapter 3. I'm going to read a few verses of chapter 3, actually verses 1 through 6 today here. It's Ruth chapter 3, verses 1 through 6. We're also going to be reading from Deuteronomy today. Today I want to point out the law of provision for the woman that God had set up back in Leviticus, and it is used here in Ruth. And Ruth, this particular chapter, is really the only time it is shown in the Old Testament here to be used. I'm sure it was used many times, but it's used here. And this is a very good example of that law being put into place. And God set up that law so that the woman could be cared for, because God loves everybody and doesn't want the woman just discarded after a death in the family and so forth. So let me read here Ruth chapter 3 verses 1 through 6. One day Ruth's mother-in-law Naomi said to her, "My daughter, I must find a home for you, where you will be well provided for." That's the thing, where you will be well provided for. "Now Boaz, with whom you have worked, is a relative of ours. Tonight he will be winnowing barley on the threshing floor. Wash, put on your perfume, and get dressed in your best clothes. Then go down to the threshing floor. But don't let him know you are there until he has finished eating and drinking. When he lies down, note the place where he is lying. Then go and uncover his feet and lie down. He will tell you what to do." "I will do whatever you say," Ruth answered. So she went down to the threshing floor and did everything her mother-in-law told her to do. All right. Now, let's go back to Leviticus. Deuteronomy. I kept saying Leviticus. It's Deuteronomy 25, verses 5 through 10. It says this: "If brothers are living together and one of them dies without a son, his widow must not marry outside the family. Her husband's brother shall take her and marry her and fulfill the duty of a brother-in-law to her. The first son she bears shall carry on the name of the dead brother, so that his name will not be blotted out from Israel. However, if a man does not want to marry his brother's wife, she shall go to the elders at the town's gate and say, 'My husband's brother refuses to carry on his brother's name in Israel. He will not fulfill the duty of a brother-in-law to me.' Then the elders of his town shall summon him and talk to him. If he persists in saying, 'I do not want to marry her,' his brother's widow shall go up to him in the presence of the elders and take off one of his sandals, spit in his face, and say, 'This is what is done to the man who will not build up his brother's family line. That man's line shall be known in Israel as the family of the unsandaled." Okay? So that was the law that was laid out in Deuteronomy there to protect the widow. Okay? So let me explain in modern day terms. We don't do this today, but this is what would happen. I have 3 sons. I have Elliot, and who's the oldest. I have Ethan, and then I have Edison. Okay? So what would happen is this. Elliot would get married. I'm going to say he's getting married to Suzie-Q. Okay? He gets married to Suzie-Q, but before he gets married, Ethan and Edison go, "Hey, who are you getting married to?" And he says, "Well, I'm getting married to Suzie-Q." And they kind of want to give their approval, because they know that if Elliot dies, that they are responsible to marry Suzie-Q. So Elliot goes, "Oh, I'm going to marry Suzie-Q." And so what happens is Elliot lives for a few years, and then he catches a cold and gets sick and dies. So then it's up to Ethan. But Ethan is already married at this point, and he says, "No, I don't want to marry anyone else. I just want to stay married to whom I'm married to." Okay? So he bypasses it, okay? Which is you're allowed to do. You're supposed to, the widow is supposed to be taken care of. So Ethan says, "No, I don't want to do it." Well, then it's up to Edison, and Edison is single, and so he ends up marrying her, And then that child that Edison and Suzie-Q have would be named like Elliot Jr. or whatever. And so that's the way it would work. Now let's say that Edison decides, no, I don't want to marry you because I think you poisoned Elliot, and that's why he died or whatever. Well, then what would happen is she would go to the elders and in the gate, and she would do this ritual here with the sandal and so forth, and spit in his face and stuff like that. Now, also another thing here is this, that we sometimes skip over, but it's pointed out here, and it's a part of Ruth and Naomi, and Naomi told her to do this. In this case, Ruth had to make it known to Boaz, in this case, that she was available and she wanted Boaz to do his obligation. So in the same way, if we had that today, Suzie-Q would have to make it known first to Ethan, like, I'm a widow now and I'd like you to marry me. Okay, so that step had to happen. And then, if that didn't work out, then she would go to Edison, and Suzie-Q would say, Edison, I feel that you should marry me. Okay. And so it was her choice too. It was a freedom of choice. She could say, I don't want anything to do with that family, and move far away. So anyway, that's what that whole law is about, and it's to protect the women. There's two reasons for that law that God provided it. J. Vernon McGee had talked about this in his book. The first is to protect the woman and her womanhood. So after her husband dies, today, if a husband dies, she has to go back to work and, get a job and so forth like that. Well, back in those days, it was hard for a woman to do that. So that would protect her as a woman, doing that. The second thing was to protect the property rights. So that property would always stay in the family. Okay, it wouldn't be divvied off in parcels to someone else. When God gave them the promised land, he gave it down by tribes and then by family, clans, and families. Okay, so that was supposed to stay in the families forever. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out today. This law, and you have to understand the law to understand fully what is happening in Ruth and why Ruth goes to Boaz in this way and stuff, and goes to the threshing floor and all that. You have to understand that to understand, the whole picture of what's going on here. And so that's why Ruth did what she did. And then, Boaz became the kinsman redeemer in that situation. So in the same way, God provides that free gift of salvation to us. It's there for us, but we have to accept it. And so Ruth, that she knew that was provided for her, but she had to accept it. She had to make it known that, Boaz, I'd like you to be my kinsman redeemer. So, all right, thanks for watching. I'm just a regular dude walking the Word. We're going to continue tomorrow through chapter 3 of the book of Ruth. Thanks for watching. We'll see you then. Blessings.